Okay. In this carpentry class, what we're fixing to learn about is some basic principles. You know, in the field of carpentry, we speak a language that's all our own. And the reason that we do that is because as we are out there working every day, we're usually working in pairs or groups in an environment that's noisy and loud and a lot of things going on. So when we are talking to each other to try to communicate and give each other instructions about what we do, we have to be able to say to you very quickly and very accurately what we want done. So where other people might use words that have broad meanings, most of the time all of our stuff that we talk about when we communicate is very specific and very direct. There are, for this purpose, there are 5 principles we're going to try to cover in this lesson. 5 very basic principles. And these principles are very simplistic. They're very simple in what they do. The thing is we got to put them together and use them in a way that every time that we do one, it is not only, it may be simple, but we have to do it extremely accurate. And we don't get any do-overs mostly in our stuff. So we have to get it right the first time. And the first one that we're going to cover is the principle of the term zero. Now, somebody raise their hand and give me a definition of what the term zero means.
None.
Go ahead.
None.
Nothing. Somebody else give me one. Not bad. Somebody else give me another definition of zero.
Even.
Even. One more. Somebody else. If somebody tells you zero, what is it you think of? What does it mean to you right now?
A start point of number.
A starting point of a number. All of these answers are correct. In everyday language, when we use zero in many forms, but as a carpenter, it only means one thing to us. And that is what he just said, a starting point. What I want you to take away from this definition, from this point on, as a carpenter, is that when anybody says the term zero or 0 point to you, it means simply a starting point, period. Now, in our everyday life, we might use these other terms, but when you got your tool belt on and you're out there working, and a carpenter says something to you about your starting point, then he is referring to the 0 point, if he says go to that 0 point. So, what I am saying is this. Everything we work with has a starting point when we start. This is a ruler. It only has one 0 point on it. Who knows where that is? Can you point to it? Take your pencil and point to it for me.
2.
The very end of it. The very end of this ruler. Where it starts. After this, we've got all kinds of other points on here. We got 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch. We've got fractions of an inch. But we only have one starting point. And that's right here. If that's true, where would the starting point be on this tape measure?
This side of 1 and 16.
At the end.
At the end. You know, I'm going to send these around, all of these measuring devices, and everybody can pass them around and look at this for a minute and make sure you can identify the starting point of all these measuring devices. And while they're going around, I want to show you another device. Who can tell me what this tool is right here?
Chalk box.
It's a chalk box. Now my question to you is, now that we've had this discussion, does it have a 0 point?
Yes.
Where would that 0 point be? Could you show me where you think that 0 point is? Grab up to it. It's the very end of it, isn't it? The beginning of this line, this point right here, is the 0 point of this chalk box. So if a carpenter says to you, take the 0 point and go hold me on that mark on the wall, you'll know which end of this chalk box to graph to go do that. It just makes sense to you also?
Yeah.
As we go along with that, who can tell me what this is?
Or
True, it is a right angle. What else is it? What kind of tool? What do we call it?
Front square.
If you were going to go get this out of the job box, what would the carpenter send you after?
A front square.
Exactly, a square, but a specific type of square. We call this big one, our common term is a framing square. Does it have a 0 point?
Yeah.
Where's the 0 point on it? It has a 0 point right here, doesn't it?
Right.
Actually, the 0 point, if you use the measurements on it, is right here. It reads from here to 24 inches this way, and from 0 to 16 inches this way. Y'all get the idea of this? Ooh. So we've got 0 points on all this. Now that we have determined that 0 means simply what?
Starting point.
Okay. Now that you know that, can you kind of think back to what carpenters did and look around this room and tell where the 0 points must be, where they started to build as they built this building? Where is the 0 point?
From the ground up.
Well, yeah, well, go ahead, raise your hand. Where's the first one you said?
That's right there.
Where right there?
Right there, where the sheet right there, the concrete is.
Where the concrete is?
Yeah, sheet right there.
Where they go together at? Where's another 0 point?
The top. The top is more.
What about the top?
Down and up, right?
The ceiling grid that runs along the wall, where did they start? They start right in the middle of it? They started where? At the corner? Or what was that probably called when they started right there?
Open.
No, what were we discussing in grid?
the starting point.
Yeah, the starting point or 0 point. They started here and went to the other end. These grids that are going across the ceiling, do they all have a 0 point on them?
Yeah.
The floor space down below us, does it all have 0 points?
Yes.
Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you two guys and you two guys to get up and go about this room, and I want you to put your finger on what you think is a 0 point. That must have been a 0 point. When the guy did this, built this window, or put in the door, or whatever he did, where he started from. That's what I want you to do right now. Just go and put your finger on it. Touch a 0 point for us. I think that's where, very good, yes, exactly. Put your finger on it, I want to see exactly what you, yes, exactly, right down at the bottom of that corner. Where do you think one is? Put your finger on exactly where we, yes, exactly. Good. You know, here's what y'all all did. You notice that you didn't just go you will notice that nobody walked over here to the wall and went like this. Why not? That's not a starting point. It's kind of in the middle of this line, isn't it? Everybody went to where a line terminated, where it started, so that it started from here and went forward all the way to the other end. or they pointed to the floor, where the joint must have started and worked to the other end. That's what everybody did. Everybody went to the end, or the 0 point of these things. And that is what I want you to take away from this lesson right here. So that when we go out in the shop area, and I tell you to measure from our 0 point on the floor, you will know to look for what? Our starting point. That is what 0 means to us. From this point forward, whenever you hear the term 0, I want you to think one thing. What is that one thing? Starting point. Every time you hear the word 0, you think starting point. Okay, well then now we're going to move on to our second principle. And the second principle that we're going to cover is straight line. And it's a combination of a 0 point and something else. And that's what we're going to cover next.